Oh.
That was a double clap.
Want to try it again?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
That's
Rock
good.
and roll.
That was solid. So, Marv,
Yes.
you'd say that we know movies and television pretty well, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Like, for instance, what is this quote from? I didn't come here to make an impression on anybody. I just came here to blow every last cent I had.
I don't know, actually. Does that make me terrible?
I mean, yeah.
Why?
But, I mean...
What's it from?
It's from Last Holiday with Queen Latifah
I've
and El
never seen it.
It's so good.
I've never seen it. What is it about?
She gets misdiagnosed that she has terminally ill.
Oh.
And then next thing you know, she goes and like tries to live out her,
her bucket list.
Right.
Okay.
And just like living it up. And then at the end she realized she was like just living the life that she wanted to live anyway.
Oh.
And then she found love with LL Cool J.
Oh, well, like, this is just...
Who doesn't find love with LL Cool J if he's there? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just cue music.
Hello, lovely listeners.
Hello.
Neff and Marv, me and Marv,
hi,
are back with our new chapter. You actually clicked on already, so thank you for sticking with it and expecting this podcast to morph itself into something fantastic.
It won't.
But we have some news. It already is.
Oh.
But this chapter is titled Neff and Marv Go to a Drive-In. In this chapter, we will be discussing our experiences with filmmaking, our favorite films and shows, genres, and how simply liking a particular show or movie tells a story about you. So if you will, continue listening and loving.
Listener discretion and caution is advised for controversial and unpopular opinions, language, potentially offensive content, and free thought. Because I really don't care if you don't like the TV shows or movies that I like. Because it doesn't affect you, you know?
Of course not.
Like, what's it to you if I really enjoy the show?
What's it to ya?
What's it to ya? Nothing. So hop off. You're going to be like, oh, I think that TV show's stupid. I think the sentence you just said was stupid. Do I care? No.
Call him out, Marv.
Anyway.
So, to start this chapter.
Yes.
We want you to know that we have experience, actually, in filmmaking and production. And this makes us at least semi-reputable and knowledgeable about this specific topic.
Yes.
To begin, we both have never seen a movie or TV show, and we did not analyze it in some critical manner. Little Marv and Little Neff just sat there shaking their heads at some questionable choices on TV. And this eventually translated into how we met.
True.
So Marv, you want to talk about that?
Oh, the origin story.
Yes.
So Noah and I met through a broadcasting class that I had been taking. It was my third year in the class. It was Noah's first. The class was split into like two classes. There was a first period class and a second period class. The first period class was like the higher class. And I'd been taking the broadcasting class in freshman year, which is why I was in the first period class.
Public broadcasting.
And I met Noah because he was the only kid in the second period mass media class who came to decorate the hallway for homecoming. Very touching.
Little nerd.
And then we ended up being in the first period class for our senior year. Yes. My fourth year, Noah's second. And we were picked to do a pep rally together. And Noah said, I don't make friends. And I said, just you wait. Yeah. And then from there, we just did a lot of like clips and small projects that the broadcasting class required of us. We worked on a lot of like videos, but also we did a lot of stuff with sets and a lot of like small scripts for the clips. And Noah was a really good production manager guy, and I was a really good anchor. And
really good anchor.
Thank you. And so that was really helpful because we like had really good communication. We both did a lot for the class. Like I'm pretty sure I set up the teleprompter every day.
Yeah, we did a lot of extra stuff.
Yeah, I like
wasn't exactly like
turned
required.
The key to make sure that the announcements played every day. And then the second semester, the format of the class changed, and Noah and I were like picked to be production heads over the whole like news crew. So we were in charge of like then the student managers who managed their teams, and we like reported directly to the head of the class. Additionally, Noah and I also got involved with a club called Film Production Club, where we like made and produced a student-made film. I had been involved the year before.
You had, yes.
And worked on the script. And then that year I also I wrote and produced the film, and Noah was the co-director. We also, in like the broadcasting class, had to write and make a documentary for our final every year. And so I did that. Our
creative project, he lengthened it that year too.
What?
He also linked it to a creative project, like a creative video. And so, because like people did horror and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah, I just did a documentary. It was terrible, but I still got an A.
Yeah, you did it quickly.
I was running a short
the editing with how much information you put in, though.
Yeah.
And still met the time requirements was solid.
I know, I got an A.
Yeah.
It was great. Everyone was like, it was boring. And I was like, it's better than yours.
And I did a biopic about me.
It was so funny.
It was a fun project to do.
Point being, Noah and I made a lot of things that year. I made, a lot of things.
A lot of community projects and stuff like that, too.
We did we had to make all those videos for the district. We had to write and produce those. Board.
And I had to carry Cool Glacier video.
Oh yeah. Wow. I'm forgetting all these things that we did. I'm like, wow, I have more skills than I freaking thought. Yeah. And then we both came to college, which led into our majors. I came in with creative writing and a minor in screenwriting, which arguably isn't what I want to do anymore, but I still love the art of screenwriting. And Noah is now video production. And
a minor in creative writing.
So... yeah, we liked film production club. We liked broadcasting, and that eventually led into our fields of study at university, where we both have done many creative video projects, whether that be just helping out. For me, at least, just helping out. You actually have to make them, so.
Yeah, get a grade.
Yeah, that's the whole shebang.
Yeah. So now you know our experiences, and now comes the fun part.
Oh, yes.
Yes, our favorite films and shows and why they are those favorites.
Exactly. So... when you talk to people and you're like, hey, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite TV show? That kind of thing. And they're like, I don't have a favorite. Do you believe them? Because I think they're liars.
So in my own defense, I've said that before. And I was totally lying.
Now I acknowledge that I was a freaking liar.
Correct. I just couldn't think of one off the top of my head because there are many favorites. I mean, but there has to be something that stands out specifically that affects you more than...
Correct.
Yes.
This is my thing. If people say that and I'm like, okay... fair, but if you were on your deathbed, you're dying, and you only have you have the perfect amount of time to watch one movie or to binge watch one TV series or to read one book. With that being said, Noah and I will probably list a few favorites in all of these categories. So Noah, hit me with those fave movies.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about my favorite movies. So to start, Donnie Darko, psychological thriller, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Everybody
fantastic.
loves it.
That one is in my favorites because it's it's unpredictable in the sense of you don't realize how it's messing with your mind when it's messing with it. But a fun background with it is that I didn't know about it until, maybe junior year of high school.
Oh.
Of high school. Because I was at Half Price Books and I was looking at the clearance movies. And there was another individual there and they're like, hey, have you seen this movie? I'm like, no. She's like, you should watch it. I'm like, okay. So I got it, watched it, and now boom, it's on the list.
Hey-o. Doesn't get any better than that.
Roll Bounce is a movie that I feel like I've talked about before, and I like Roll Bounce a lot because it's multiple genres in one film, and it's really emotional. And there's a scene where he takes a bat to his father's car that his father loves because his father is not acknowledging his mother's death, and it's a mess, but it's so fantastic, and it's a lot of humor as well because the cast is all mostly comedic actors for the most part. Bow Wow stars in that.
What? Okay.
Next is Across the Universe, which I think we've also talked about.
I've just seen the face. I can't forget the time and place where we just met.
And I love it because one, it's a musical too. It's about the Beatles. So what's not to love?
Musicals.
And Jim Sturgis and Evan Rachel Wood are just ugh. And then these two I'm gonna put hand in hand because they're both movies I used to watch all the time when I was younger. And they're Aristocats and Wizard of Oz. I was a weird 2-year-old that loved Wizard of Oz and just watched it at 2 on repeat. And then Aristocats is still such a solid film. I don't know if it's the animation style or the way it's written, but it is so good.
Everybody wants to be. What's your favorite Aristocat? I'm impartial.
That's favorite characters, and I don't have a favorite character.
Freaking liar. My favorite Aristocat is Marie.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Yeah. She's really great.
The Princess Bride is definitely one of my favorite films.
I've never seen that.
No? You never seen The Princess Bride?
No.
Oh my gosh. It is beyond hilarious. If you like spoofs in general, you're going to love that film.
I'm sure I would love it if I watched it.
You know what? I have it. We're going to watch it together, Marv.
Okay.
The Saw series is really good. I love the Saw series. It tells a 360 story, and it's just mind-blowing. And the fact that someone came up with those devices blows my mind that there's insane people like me out there.
Oh, okay.
And then last is the Harry Potter series, of course.
Duh.
That's a given. Like, I don't have to explain why that's my favorite.
Yeah.
But Marie, what are your favorite movies? And tell us why.
Oh,
you know?
For all of them?
I mean, you can do what I did. Where's a quick rundown?
How many did you give me? I'll give you 8 as well.
All right.
Okay, so the first movie, preface this is really in no particular order. This is just like what I feel like is coming from my head. I would probably have to say like my favorite movie to watch whenever I like feel like I just want to watch a movie and just want to feel good. And also it's so clever. Is 10 Things I Hate About You. I love 10 Things I Hate About You. I love the cast. I love the adaptation. I love the storyline. The iconic quotes. Literally doesn't get better than 10 Things I Hate About You. I also really love The Social Network. It's like the movie about Facebook, but it's not about Facebook. I really like The Social Network. I think people don't like it because they think it's slow, and I like The Social Network because it's all dialogue. Like literally the whole movie is based on like the conversations people have, and the writing in that movie is so quick, and the pacing and the timing of the script is just a genius. And I think like if I was going to tell somebody like, oh yeah, watch the movie but you should also read the script of it, I would have them read The Social Network hands down. Then there's Whiplash.
Solid film.
I love Whiplash.
Marv, tell her.
I feel like all of these films are going to be like, I love this film. Whiplash, I saw the movie in theaters with my best friend, Annie, and we both needed to hydrate afterwards. It makes my pulse rise in a way that I don't think I've ever had happen in a movie before. Like, I'm not one for scary movies. Let's just get that out there. I hate scary movies. I don't like the feeling of being scared, but I do like thrillers, and I do like adrenaline movies. And I feel like Whiplash gives me that adrenaline without it being too like, you know? It's by the same director who did La La Land. A lot of people don't know that.
Damien Chazelle.
Yes. It's so good. It's so good. The shots are so good.
Oh, the cinematography is...
Mwah.
Oh my gosh.
Magnifique. It's a beautiful film, beautiful music, beautiful sound, like drummer wise. I love the storyline. I love like the debate, the constant give, pull. The ambiguity is really great. It's a movie that I make people watch. Yeah. And if they don't get it, it's like, oh, okay. So the movie that made me want to initially start writing movies in general was Dead Poets Society. I watched it alone one night, just like myself watching this movie, and I just cried. And I cried through the whole thing. It's not here, but I like own Leaves of Grass. Like I think that Dead Poet Society is a movie that you can't dislike. I really just feel like that's something universal. Like you can hate parts of the movie, but in general, it's just a movie that people like. And it's a movie that makes you go like, that's a good movie. I love the Aristocats as well. I grew up watching the Aristocats, hardcore. Love it. It's probably one of my favorite Disney movies. My mom let us watch Disney movies growing up, and she really liked Aristocats. Like, the art in it is fun. Like, it's just a fun movie, and I thought it was cool that there was a cat named Marie. If I were to be like, what is the movie that I remember most from my childhood, it's probably Aristocats. 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that movie is so challenging in a way that I feel like there are parts of it that I still don't understand. It's just like a movie that feels omnipresent. In all honesty, it's just a movie that feels like it's constantly relevant. Shoot, now I've thought of like 3 more movies that I love.
Mom, it's okay.
I really like Arrival. I can watch Arrival a lot just because I think they do sci-fi really well in Arrival.
Fascinating.
They do sci-fi really well in a way that like I haven't seen sci-fi movies done before. Another really great adaptation, She's the Man. It's a movie that I can quote pretty much everything from. It's a movie that I grew up watching with my sisters. It was like our feel-good movie that we could watch. It was like just enough edgy comedy that like my mom would let us get away with it. I don't know. It's a classic. And then lastly, I freaking love Ratatouille. And if you don't freaking talk to me about how it's a bad movie, because I love it and anybody can cook. That's it. I love Ratatouille. Just tell me your favorite TV shows, Noah, and then we'll get to it.
So, first and foremost, without a doubt, like the pinnacle, like on pedestal for me TV show, which a lot of people hate.
Do we want to say it together?
And I get it. We can, yes.
No, it's okay. I'll let you have this.
It's How I Met Your Mother. It is just, that show was like with me, an important part of my life for a lot of emotional formations for me. And it just, it's something where I connected various characters. It's sad to say it taught me about love, but like it did. And like it's a twisted form of love, but there's like so many different kinds of loves are portrayed in that. I just think Craig Thomas and Carter Bays are just like fantastic human beings.
Yeah.
Next is Seinfeld.
Duh.
The humor. Oh my gosh. It's so sarcastic and I'm sarcastic, and there doesn't have to be such an overarching like story arc. And I think that's what makes it so fantastic.
It's a show about nothing.
Next is Freaks and Geeks.
Yes.
I love F&G. Those are my top 3, him, Seinfeld, and F&G. And Freaks and Geeks is just, if you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you?
I literally say that every time people are like, oh, I haven't watched Freaks and Geeks. Like, why not?
Season 1, the only season, stands alone so well. Highly recommended. Next is American Horror Story. I actually binge watched this over this past summer. Next is General Hospital, and that's a daytime soap opera. And
I respect it.
It's ABC soaps, and they're better than CBS soaps, so screw them. I actually went to an event for General Hospital with my mother.
That's so cute.
Thanks. I'll mention one is The Bachelor.
Oh.
Yes.
This is one that will make an appearance equally on my list.
It's just, I don't want to call it guilty pleasure because like it's not guilty. I don't feel guilty about it. I like it, man. I'm
gonna eat up this drama.
Honestly, like I don't care if it's constructed.
Yo, the best Bachelor in Paradise. That shit's like a drug. Okay, it really is.
And I'm gonna mention one that's actually not on this outline just because I put etc. and etc. is referring to this, and it's gonna show up on Marv. So I think I'm just gonna let her say it instead. So Marie, what are your favorite television shows?
All right, so we are gonna start with at the core of my being.
Yes.
One Tree Hill.
Yes.
I love One Tree Hill. Like, it's so good, Noah. It's so good. The show is just the right amount of like unbelievable for like a teen drama. Like, yeah, Haley and Nathan get married and Haley gets a record deal, and then Peyton starts a record store, and like Brooke starts a clothing line, like, and they all haven't graduated, whatever.
Per usual.
But it also is just the right amount of like down to earth that it's so great. It's so great. They have a great cast. They have a bunch of really great stars. Like when they were young, I would die for Brooke Davis. She's a great character, and the way they handle her development is great. I think it's a show that like, it's also a show that like handled a time jump really well. Like after high school, we didn't see any of their college years, but they all ended up coming back to Tree Hill, and they handled that transition really well. The show admittedly was a little slow at first, but then it picked it back up. It was so great. My second, this is also in no particular order. This is one that I feel like you were like, oh, I know Marie's going to say this. And it goes along with like something that I have introduced you to.
Correct.
And that is Orphan Black.
Yes.
Yes. I'm like going to get tears in my eyes thinking about this show. I love Orphan Black. So let me pitch it to you.
Yes.
Orphan Black is a TV show on BBC America, and there's 5 seasons. It doesn't air anymore. R.I.P. And it's about this woman, Sarah Manning. She's at a train station trying to run away, and she witnesses someone just like her jump in front of a train. Come to find out, Sarah's a freaking clone, dude. She's a clone, and there's a group of them, and they're all trying to figure out like who they are and why they were created, and like what the truth behind them being an experiment is. No one can attest. It's wild. There's so many twists and turns. Here's the tea on Orphan Black. Okay. Yeah. I have been telling Noah to watch Orphan Black. I don't know how long.
Until I actually did.
I don't remember when I started telling you to watch Orphan Black.
Senior year of high school.
Yes. And when did you watch it?
2 summers ago. I caught up live to season 5.
So it was a while that I was telling Noah to watch Orphan Black, and he always said he would, and then he didn't. But now he did, and he understands. He understands the true love of Orphan Black.
I really do.
I love Orphan Black because I think the storytelling is really intriguing. I think additionally they do science fiction well, it's really thrilling to see an actress be able to portray so many different characters so well. That's the thing, is every single clone is different, and they have their own personality, and it never feels like it's the same. I would highly recommend, if you're going to watch, if you need a thriller TV show to watch Orphan Black. You will not regret it. Another favorite TV show of mine, I watched it sophomore year of college. I started watching it, and that is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I love that comedy. I think it's great. I know that they don't play on cliches. Like, there's not like a smart jock who's mean to like the uncool nerdy guy who's like obsessed with the smart jock. Like, there's a friendship there, and they mostly they talk about most social issues pretty well. There are still like some subjects that I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine gets wrong. I think a lot of the times on the internet you'll see it praised as like this perfect comedy, and I don't think it is. I think there's a lot of like discussion about probably like body issues and ideals like that they probably don't handle as well as like they do when they talk about like race or sexuality or events like that. So while they are very progressive, I think it's unfair for it to be like, it's a perfect comedy, because I think everybody has room to grow. But with that being said, the comedy is really good. If you're going to look for a comedy, I would recommend Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So those are probably my like top 3 if I had to pitch them, but we could also do, I equally also love The Bachelor. I love the Bachelor franchise. Bachelorette. I like The Bachelorette probably more than I like The Bachelor. I really like Mr. Robot. That's a show not a lot of people talk about or know about.
Critics love it.
It's so good. It's like every single episode is a movie, which is interesting because it was adapted from a short film. It's a show that I would be like, ooh, watch if you like critical TV, because it is kind of intense and it definitely isn't for everyone. If you're looking for like a fun mystery show to watch that isn't like as dark as Criminal Minds or like NCIS, like watch Veronica Mars. It is coming back to Hulu. There's also a movie for it. It's great. I really like Gilmore Girls because I really like the writing of Gilmore Girls. I like how fast paced it is. I like the relationship between Rory and Lorelai, and I know that's controversial because Lorelai sometimes seemed not the right mom, but I think that's what made it interesting, is that she wasn't a good mom, but Rory didn't know that, and so she thought she was a great mom. And I think it's a show that just like, it's a show that just like makes you feel warm inside. Like you're just getting a hug. That's how Gilmore Girls feels. And then, last but not least, this is a show that is very dear to me. We talked about it last week in the conspiracy one. So I love the X-Files. That's not a secret. I started watching the X-Files with my dad because the revival was coming back. And I was like, ooh, sign me up. I love aliens. It's such an interesting show, the way they do the opposites. The idea that like Mulder and Scully are exact opposites, but they cannot function without one another. And I think that the monsters of the weeks are fun. I think that the overarching storyline is fun. But at the base of the X-Files, it's like the belief in the desire for truth. And I love that. I love what they stand for. I love what they root for. I love the way it's shot. I love how they characterize Scully. I love like Mulder's character. I love how like relentless he is in his hope. I feel like it really accurately captures like the struggle of what it means to be human. The struggle of like wanting to believe but questioning the truth, and like not knowing where to turn when you feel like nobody's giving you the answer you want. So obviously, as we can see by these lists, we have various genres of both movie and television that we like. So this is no surprise that like each genre evokes a different meaning and emotion, and that can change and like fluctuate. But do you have the definition of genre? Do you want to explain what genre is?
The first definition for genre is a class or category of artistic endeavor having a particular form, content, technique, or the like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the type of movie or the type of...
How they're grouped.
Yeah, how you would classify, organize them. So like when you go to Netflix and you go like, I want to watch more, and then it like makes you pick like thriller or sci-fi. Like, yeah. So there are lots of common genres. Some in film are action, comedy, drama, documentary. We didn't even talk about documentaries. Or musicals. We did a little bit. Romance and horror. There are a lot of common television genres like action, sitcoms, dramas, talk shows, kids and family television, and science fiction and horror. But usually genres like intermingle and they create hybrid genres, such as the much loved genre in this podcast, which is the rom-com or the romantic comedy. Noah and I are both big rom-com fans. So more and more films are shifting themselves into the ideals of a love story. So like hence there's lots of mixed emotions in everything experienced on screen today.
Genres to me are emotions.
Okay.
So like yes, they tell certain stereotypes, arc and plot. But there's always a few key emotions that are present that are not in another. What about you?
I guess I would agree that they're emotions, but they're also like direction. Like they tell me what to be expectant from the story, but also like where the story is going, which kind of goes along with emotions about how their stereotypes, arcs, and plot. But like when I go and watch a romantic comedy, like I expect there to be a happy ending. The faulty is that we as a society have a preconceived notion about what this genre will hold, that anything that breaks out of it is kind of like, oh, and weird. But I think genres are just a direction. I think they're just saying like, hey, this is the type of movie because it meets these requirements in the basic sense. A genre is like a SparkNotes version of the movie you're about to watch, like I said before, because it just gives you a basic understanding of like, okay, if I'm going to a horror movie, I expect to be scared. If I'm going to a sci-fi, I expect there to be something with science.
Now you have our background, likes, dislikes, and the basic comprehension of genre. Pocketing these items and debating our own list of favorites, let us tell you why simply liking or disliking a certain movie or show is, in fact, storytelling.
Okay.
Here's the reasons.
Let's rock and roll. So, reason number 1, if you're taking notes, this is your time to write down number 1. If you're taking notes.
Thank you.
Okay, Mom. Chill. 1, liking or disliking these movies, they tell you about you. These fun, sad, or cryptic concepts about the self are objectively displayed by your preferences. So I love encouraging TV shows. One Tree Hill gives me that, and so does Dead Poets Society. So concepts about me are displayed in the things that I'm choosing to watch. And so I think these are small elements about myself that I don't realize I'm attracted to in TV shows or movies, but they do tell you about yourself.
And it actually ties into our second point, if you want to read that one too.
So number 2, the content relates to things you have or have not experienced in emotional ways. It is how it connects to you and the personal why of it. So like, why do you feel like you connect to some of the shows that you watch? You had mentioned you watched How I Met Your Mother at a very pivotal time.
Right. So it was a time where I was trying to put off any type of romance. I was very emotionally inept. I made myself numb to most emotions, for that matter. And that show came about to teach me how to display it.
Okay.
In a variety of ways.
Yeah.
And also doing it without always saying it.
Okay.
How it was actually a deciding factor for me in dating the second person I dated. And the third point, write this down.
Yeah.
Art is subjective. But the mind is debatably not.
Oh.
Yes. This complex argument allows comparison and conversation to spread like the plague. So because the mind is not and art is, it allows this contrasting, like the same magnets
duality
going at each other. And it's really fun to analyze that as well.
It's really fun to talk about it.
It is.
What about the story is good for you? Like what makes you like want to be invested?
Yep. With particularly How I Met Your Mother. It was really like the first, in my opinion, television show that uses flashbacks and flash forwards in a way that is not terribly complex to follow.
Fair.
And I think it does it well.
I would agree.
And that's a form of storytelling that a lot of like professors and professionals warn and caution you to stay away from, is flashbacks and flash forwards, because they get confusing in terms of time and place. But I think How I Met Your Mother showed it well.
Yeah, I feel like you're never lost in that show.
Right. But those shows in general, like the way that they offshoot kind of away from the norm for me, is what made it really exciting.
Got it.
To stay with.
Right. I think it's interesting that we have things that overlap that we like for different reasons, because I will probably bring this up again when we talk about books, because it's a big player. And I think in any of the media I consume, when it comes down to it, I want characters with lots of heart. Like I want characters that I feel satisfy me and make me long for them. I want characters that are disappointing but fulfilling, because who they are is disappointing, and like I can't expect anything less of them. I want characters that challenge me, and I want characters that break my heart but also make me proud of them at the same time. I want characters that I could like watch go to the grocery store or like write an essay and not feel bored by. I want a character that I think about when I'm not watching the thing that they're in. And I think at the basis for me, what makes a story fun to watch is the characters. It can be beautiful and the music can be great and it can be shot wonderfully. But if your characters suck, I'm not invested, because I'm here to watch it, but I'm also here to feel it and I'm here to relate to it. And if your characters can't do that for me, then it's not worth my time. And that's what I think makes a good story for me and makes me want to watch these movies and want to watch these TV shows, you know? I
do know. So we hope that you'll watch movies and shows with a level of both analysis and depth of self. Be critical of the product and yourself. Love yourself and the film or show, but always understand why you do. The themes that escape between the preference and the why are worthy of your story being told.
Yes.
Never fret about if your story is boring or uninteresting or even uncomfortable. If we learn one thing as friends, it is that somebody will always engage with your story and connect with you in such a human level incomprehensible of standard English.
I think that's true. I think it's definitely true of our friendship as well. I think that we're a good team.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
like the best way I could describe it is like Noah and I are friends because we are a good team, and we are different enough that we
challenge each other,
but we're very similar enough that we can connect on, or we can meet on a lot of common ground. And I think that's what makes a good story as well, is that things that are happening in the story are different enough, but that elements can always meet on common ground.
Yes, I agree.
We hope that you find a TV show or movie that you love passionately.
Yes.
And that you get invested in, because being invested in media is not a bad thing. Don't let people tell you that you shouldn't watch movies too much or they shouldn't watch TV because it's not good for your head. Because, okay, yeah, it's not good for your head if you watch it too much, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't watch it. And I think there's a lot of reward and a lot of education that comes from watching movies and TV shows.
I think I've learned more about the world from video media and print media than like in actually the educational system.
I know. With all that said, we would love to hear from you.
Yes.
You can reach out to us on social media at NJSandel and at Inky Squares on Twitter and Instagram. If you have questions, or you just want to be heard, or you want to fight us on our opinions about television and movies, you can use those handles, or you can email us at njsandel@gmail.com or marielikesthings@gmail.com. The podcasts are available on our websites. You have heard us talk about our websites many times before, so I feel like I'm not going to repeat them.
But make sure to keep your eye out for more chapters because they are coming. We do apologize for the uneven releases. We're trying very hard to accommodate both of our schedules for the end of the semester.
Students.
We are both students, yes.
I'm really excited for the next chapter because I feel like it's very expected that Noah's going to be excited about the next chapter, but the next chapter we will be looking at music and storytelling, and Neff and Marv buy records together. I don't really talk about my love of music on this podcast a lot because I'm not the one doing the song of the day. Yeah, it will feel very similar to this podcast because it's set up in a very similar fashion to this chapter with a global perspective of emphasis. You'll probably hear this format again when we talk about books, just it'll be really long. So before we send it off into the abyss, Noah, hit me with that song of the day.
Song of the chapter. Ready for this?
Yeah.
Lost It to Trine by Sun Lux from the Paper Town soundtrack. So
we didn't even talk about this.
Well, there's a reason for it. It's not on our favorite films.
We're going to talk about it when we talk about books.
Yes, we will. This is one of the few films that Marv and I have a similar emotion about.
Yeah. There's a
this
really great key throw in
song
this.
plays after Q and Margot escape the shenanigans of Margot's night, technically, and head to the SunTrust building. And I've always felt that Marv and I would develop the same type of accepted platonic realm.
Do you feel like we have?
I think we're very close.
I feel like we have.
You felt like we did early on.
Well, yeah. But yeah.
We'll dive into that on the last chapter. Until next time.
Yeah, we'll catch you
on the next episode
of Notorious for Mumbling.
Notorious for Mumbling.
Yeah, we talk about music, so get ready to bop. We won't be playing any music because we don't have the copyright, but I'll sing some for you. Bye. Wow, we've gotten so good at that.
We have.